everyone, today I am going to be ranking my last 10 eyeshadow palettes that I have used and purchased. So if you want to see my thoughts on all these palettes, my review, all that jazz, just keep watching. So at number 10, we have the Nomad Cosmetics Angel palette. Now, I do really like this palette. I love the color story. I was just a little bit disappointed in the shimmer shades. They weren't as intense as I wanted them to be, but the mattes are really beautiful and they build up nicely. It's just the shimmers that I did use, they didn't have enough oomph, if that makes sense. So that is why this is at number 10. It's still beautiful and I can still get very beautiful looks out of it, and some of the shimmers are better than others. They're more pigmented, but yeah, there's just some of the shimmers that I didn't like, so that's why it's at number 10. But the rest of the shimmers are really good. It's just some of the shimmers weren't. So this is at number 10. At number 9, we have the Juvia's Place I Live, I Love palette. I'm not sure if this was part of their Christmas palettes or what, but this is the palette. I did do videos on all of these palettes, so swatches and everything you can find on my channel. So this palette I got because it's cute. I didn't know there was a pressed glitter, but the pressed glitter is actually not bad. Juvia's Place has the best formula for pressed glitters, in my opinion. The look I didn't really turn out because of the fact that my, the outer corner of my eye really enjoys watering, and for some reason it just wouldn't stop and it kept ruining the look. But everything applied well. Juvia's Place has a really good formula. I just wish they came out with more palettes that kind of suited my style. This was the first palette in months that I've even been slightly inclined to buy from them, so I like this palette. I think it's beautiful. I think the shades are really nice, but again, it's one of those small palettes that you're not going to get a ton of looks out of. I mean, you have 3 mattes and 2 shimmers and 1 pressed glitter, so you only have so much variety you can do, but I still think it's a good palette. Plus, it comes with a mirror, so that's always great, and it's just a nice, fun little palette. At number 8, we have Colourpop Just a Glitch, which is one of their 5-pan little mini eyeshadow palette sort of deals. I really, really love this color story. I do think that the shimmers in this is a little lackluster, but the mattes definitely are amazing. The shimmers are just not metallic and intense enough for my liking. They're soft type of shimmers, which if you like that, that's great, but I don't. So really for me, I just like these 2 matte shades. These are the whole reason I love this palette. The look I did was super simple. I just used both these shades and some of the shimmers, and I like how it turned out. I think it was cute. I definitely again, small palette, so you're not going to get a ton of looks out of it. I mean, there's only 2 mattes, but still, these are shades that I love to the moon and back, so I'm very happy to have this little palette. I think Colourpop definitely steps up their game every time. I just really hope that they go back to doing more metallic shimmers instead of these soft ones, which, don't get me wrong, are still cute, but I want intensity. So this is the palette where I would use the shimmers with a wet brush and glitter glue, I think. At number 7, we have the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. This palette is absolutely stunning. First of all, the packaging, this packaging is so cool. Obviously, it gives me straight up Halloween vibes, which I love. And this is what the palette itself looks like. I am obsessed with this palette. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, I wish it was more grungy. I wish there wasn't you do not need these 2 golds. You don't. They're similar enough on the eye that it's fine. But this is the gold that I like most. It's more of a orangey toned. This one's more of a straight up gold. This one I like better. But that aside, I do really love this palette. I love the look I did. I especially love these tones over here. These tones just really, really speak to me and make me happy. So that's why I like this palette. It's basically the color story. The formula is really great. I think Nomad Cosmetics is definitely an underrated indie brand. They have such good quality products. I want to get one of their other palettes. It's the American Parks palette or whatever. I really want to get that one because I just love the color story, and also the formula looks really nice. That is something I do have to admit, a lot of indie companies do such a good job with their eyeshadow formulas. I'm just absolutely so impressed, and I really love my other Nomad palettes I have. I have the Tokyo one, and then I also have the Iceland one. Iceland one is my favorite. It's definitely one of my favorites of 2021 for palettes just in general. So this is a palette that I really like. I really like the color. I keep saying that I like the color story, but I do. Like, I like the variety. I like that you do have some warm tones. Then you have like greens, you have a blue, you have a gray, you have purpley tones. Like, you kind of have everything. And then the little imprints in the shadows, while they won't stay forever, I still think it's a nice touch. At number 6, we have the Odins Eye and Annette's Makeup Corner Giant Wolves palette. First off, the packaging is absolutely stunning. I mean, this artwork is so beautiful, and I love Annette, so the fact that she did another collaboration palette was pretty awesome. And the color story for this is just so up my alley. As soon as I saw this one, I knew it was the one out of all the palettes I wanted. That being said, I did have some troubles with some of the matte eyeshadows blending, particularly this green shade and this like dark purple. Honestly, the first look I did didn't really work out, and I had to do like a cut crease, and then the second look I did, I used basically these shades, and while I do like how the look turned out, there was a harsh line, which sucks, but at the same time, everything else applies great. I really like the shimmers. The multi-chrome in this palette is just the absolute most beautiful thing ever. Yeah, you can like see the color shift. It's really, really pretty. In the end, the color story is basically the reason why this palette is higher than the others. Even though I did have problems with the formula of like 2 of the eyeshadows, I still think this palette is worth it and is definitely one of my favorites. At number 5, we have Colourpop Orchid U Knot, which is like a purpley toned palette, super dark and grungy and just absolutely beautiful. Again, definitely these metallics are a lot better than the ones on Just a Glitch. Like, they're more metallic, but I still think like this purple shade needed more intensity to it. I had to use like a wet brush for it to kind of come across better, but besides that, this palette is amazing. I really love the dark grungy vibes it gives. I love the shimmers that they included. I think the shades complement each other perfectly. Honestly, this palette just makes me happy, and it makes me think of like winter, in the sense that like for me, like winter vibes are definitely more grungy vibes, so I'm down for this. Like, as soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted it. The look I did was like a super messy grungy type of look. It's not for everyone, but I enjoyed it, so that's what matters. And yeah, this is number 5 in my palette ranking. At number 4, we have the Nightmare Before Christmas and Colourpop collaboration palette. I didn't think I would love this palette as much as I do, but the look I did really sold me on this palette. Like, honestly, I wasn't sure how I would feel about it because I know nothing about Nightmare Before Christmas. I still haven't watched the movie. I need to, but even like the color story, it didn't give me vibes from the movie, even though I've never really seen it. But I love the look I did. I did like this like orangey pink look with like a sort of like circular cut crease moment. I really, really liked it. But it was like a half cut crease like on the lid as well. I mean, you guys will see it. I thought it was really pretty. I ended up adding liner as well, and I think that pulled it together even more. I just really liked how this palette performed. Everything blended really nicely, and honestly, I'm so excited to try like these darker, grungier shades. I think they're so cute, and I'm just overall impressed with this palette. It's definitely one of my favorites Colourpop has released in 2021, which is kind of crazy. Honestly, I can't believe this year's almost over. It's insane thinking about doing all of these end of the year videos, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? But this is definitely one of those palettes where I know I'm gonna reach for it again and again and again, because it just, when I do a look and it turns out so beautifully, and I know it's because of the eyeshadow formula, I'm sold, and I'm going to use it more. This pink shade I definitely wish was more metallic-y. It's definitely more of like on the verge of a satin, so I'm not a fan of satins, but besides that, really love this palette, and that is why it's at number 4. At number 3, we have the BH Cosmetics Paris palette. Now, This palette, as soon as I saw it, I was like, BH Cosmetics, you are doing something right. This color story is just so beautiful. Again, I did a swatch video on this so you guys can see the swatches, but the formula on this palette is insane. The dark shades blend beautifully. There's no issues whatsoever. These shimmers are actually shimmery and metallic. You don't have to use like a glitter primer or wet your brush. Like, they're already intense, but if you want to, you can and make them more intense. I like that it does have like an inner corner shade and you have like transition shades, but you also have like dark grungy colors and then you have like pops of color. I think that these colors all go together well, so this is just one of those palettes that I know I'm gonna keep reaching for. At number 2, we have the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. This palette definitely surprised me. Like, when I saw it, I knew I wanted it, especially since BH Cosmetics usually makes their palettes limited edition eventually. So I wanted to pick it up. I'm so glad I did. I love it. Their metallic formula is like beyond. It's just amazing, and their mattes are pretty good too. But their metallics are so good. Like, I just love them. They're so metallic and fun, and just overall I love them. Like, I mean, look, oh, look at that. Like, they're so good, and that's one swipe. I can't even, like, this palette is so good, and I love the color story. I love the like bluey green tones and then like the reddy orangey tones. Like, the shade Marigold speaks to me, and even like, oh, this is like one of those like wet, almost like super shock shadow type of shades. But even this, like, these shades are usually boring, but there's just, oh my god, there's just something about the metallicness and like the color to it that it's beyond amazing, and I'm obsessed with this palette, hence why it's at number 2. I love it, and I can see myself doing so many looks with this palette. Very versatile, formula is great, and if this is still available, would highly recommend it. Last but not least, at number 1, we have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette. Now, I honestly love this palette. Like, it's just such a nice palette. It doesn't come with a mirror, which, you know, I prefer when there's a mirror, but it doesn't really matter that much. But this palette, it's a beautiful, beautiful mix between neon, grunge, and pastels and normal bright shades. Like, do you not die looking at this? It's so beautiful. The brand owner is such a sweetheart, honestly. She helped me with my order and everything. Like, I'm just in love with this palette. The formula is really, really great too. Everything blends beautifully. The shimmers are like soft shimmers, so like buttery sort of super shock sort of deal. Very, very pigmented. Like, you need one swipe and you're good. Like you barely put your finger in, and like, look at that. That is impeccable. It's so beautiful. This shade in the inner corner just gives me life. All of these shades, though, honestly, are so good. Even the neons, which can definitely be hard to formulate, really perform well, and I'm so excited to do so many looks with this palette. Like, I just love that you have pastels, you have bright shades, you have grungy dark shades, you have a whole row of shimmers slash metallics, and then you have these beautiful neons. Like, I just die. Like, it's just so pretty, and I'm so happy I have this palette in my collection. These two shimmers on the bottom are the Blend Bunny Cosmetics ones. Like, do you not die? Like, look at that. That's one swipe. I love it. That was my ranking of the last palettes that I've used. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below any videos you'd like to see me do. Go follow my Instagram and TikTok, Makeup by TASHA XO, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.